I'm Haley Taylor, and you're listening to the Rough Draft Diaries. On the last episode of the Rough Draft Diaries, you met a lot of people. I was given a tour of SunBridge schools by the principal, Stu, and the executive director, Joe.
We'll take you in every classroom and take you around. We have kindergarten through third grade here.
Okay.
And then our other building is grades 4, 5, and 6.
And of course, you also met some of the kids as well.
Hi, my name is Kenneth, and we learning Fat Families. Fat Families are a group of numbers that we combine, that we add and subtract.
What's my number?
In the last episode, we learned a little bit about the organization, but not about its origins. So that's where we're going to start on this episode of the Rough Draft Diaries. So I'll have to introduce to you one more person.
Sure. My name is Steve Mitchell. I am currently the board chairman of SunBridge Schools.
Steve was at SunBridge Schools from the beginning. He was actually one of the creators.
Yes, I was involved from the very, very beginning, and we began as a kind of an offshoot of an after-school program called Kids Unlimited. Yeah, we started off K2 and had about 75 kids, and our plan was to add a grade a year.
They eventually added grades 3rd through 6th, and because of this growth, they needed to move buildings. But before they moved buildings, there was one more thing that needed to change, and that was that it wasn't going to be an after-school program anymore.
I think that the Kids Unlimited board realized that the children needed to try to have more of a full day experience. And at the time, the charter school movement was beginning to take off in the state of Ohio. And so they decided to begin a charter school. I would not say that we're neither a pro or against public school. I think we're just pro-education. I think that's an important thing to point out, that the only way we could fund our school was by utilizing the community school mechanism. Well, but there are certain circumstances where maybe we can serve students more completely than perhaps a traditional school can.
So Steve feels that the school needs to be different because the student's situation is most likely different than that found in the general public schools. SunBridge serves the 3 zip codes in Toledo that contain the highest percentage of sexual assault, abuse, violence, homelessness, and hunger for young children. But in the 7 years that SunBridge has been in Toledo, they have learned how to best prepare a school day for these students. They have a special bus system to pick up the children, but also available to parents who do not have the luxury to drive their own car to school meetings or recitals. SunBridge also has a therapist and a caseworker on hand, and countless community members who support the school, like local dentists who donate toothbrushes and toothpaste, and families that send clothes to the school, helping each child maintain the dress code. With all these moving parts working together to make the school successful, Steve mentioned there's one big issue hanging over SunBridge.
I think one of the most challenging things we are all facing in education is the funding model that we have in the state of Ohio. Much more resources need to be given, but also then managed appropriately. And the schools that are not doing a good job, whether they be public schools or charters, need to be held accountable more. And I'm not convinced our state has really figured that out. We typically operate our school on probably 40% of the funds that a normal public school would get. And that's a big gap. And we try to make up for some of that with some fundraising, but we can never ever reach that gap. I would love to find a way where the charter schools and the public schools get to the point where we work collaboratively on trying to educate these kids. I think the city of Cleveland has done a better job in getting to that point, and I would like to always have our door open to talk with our public schools on how we can educate these kids. We've got to get over these us versus them mentality and say, how do we work together as the city of Toledo to improve the lives of our children, period.
For Steve, this sense of collaboration and support is not just a dream. He knows it's possible because he's seen it in action before.
We do a thing called Character Kids, which is our students of the month. We go to a local restaurant. We took a group of kids to Mancy's Steakhouse, and we had a group of children there. They had all the day before been taught where to put their forks and knives and how to cut their food and be polite in a restaurant. And I'll never forget a gentleman sitting across the way, and he kept looking at us. And he came over afterwards and he said, "Hey, I wanted to tell you, the waiter had told me that what you're doing, you're to school around the corner, and I think it's wonderful that you're rewarding these young kids. And I had someone in my life when I was about that age that kind of did the same thing with me." And we shook hands and all, said thank you. And it got time to pay the bill, and I was ready to bring my credit card out, and the waitress said, No. That gentleman there took care of lunch for you. He said it made his day. So that brought a little tear to all of us there, but it was his way of paying it forward. I think that's all we're about. We've been given gifts, it's time for us to pay forward. And hopefully our kids someday will be able to do the same.
I'm Haley Taylor, and thanks for listening to this episode of the Rough Draft Diaries.